These are the fighters whose skill with a sword is practically unmatched. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 best Game of Thrones swordsmen.
This bloody woman!
Before we begin, we publish new videos every day, so be sure to subscribe for more great content. For this list, we're focusing on the best, most gifted sword fighters in the world of Ice and Fire. However, while Oberyn and the Mountain are some of the most deadly men in the Seven Kingdoms, Oberyn uses a spear, and the Mountain relies more on brute strength rather than kill with a blade, meaning they will not be eligible for this list. Also, if you aren't caught up on your Game of Thrones, be aware there may be spoilers ahead.
Remember, child, this is not the dance of the Westeros we are learning. The Night's Dance. Hacking and hammering!
Number 10. Ned Stark. The first season of Game of Thrones is peppered with references to Ned Stark's impressive resume of battles won and opponents slain. Able to hold his own in a brief fight with Jaime Lannister, Ned proved that a northern man is as strong as any southern sword. However, it wasn't until Season 6 that we got to see a young Ned Stark in action, and he really did not disappoint. Going up against one of the greatest swordsmen ever, Sir Arthur Dayne, Stark technically won, though not single-handedly. Young Ned is full of gusto and fights with unbridled passion. As such, he more than deserves a spot on our list of the greatest fighters from the Game of Thrones canon. Number 9. Sandor Clegane, also known as the Hound. Before he went toe-to-toe with Brienne of Tarth, the Hound was practically invincible. He would regularly cut down swarms of soldiers with ease, often humiliating them with verbal jabs in the process. In Season 3, he fought Beric Dondarrion and his flaming sword, and again emerged victorious. The Hound's reputation often precedes him, giving him a mental advantage before the battle even begins. While his fighting style is far from elegant, there is something beautiful about watching him pulverize his enemies with brute sword strength and the occasional punch to the face. Sandor Clegane is a vicious swordsman whose fearlessness makes him a terrifying opponent and a better fighter than his brother, the Mountain.
Stop this madness in the name of your...
Number 8. Jorah Mormont. A classically trained swordsman, Jorah is a force to be reckoned with once he gets going. For years, viewers watched as he protected Daenerys Targaryen from would-be assassins, disgruntled Dothraki, and the Masters of Meereen. After being banished by Dany, Jorah had to battle his way through the fighting pits, ultimately using his superior style of combat to cut down younger yet experienced opponents. While he's had many moments to showcase his skills, his crowning achievement is definitely the time he saved his queen from the Sons of the Harpy during the Massacre of Meereen. Attaboy, Jorah! Number 7. Daario Naharis.
You're a strange man.
I'm the simplest man you'll ever meet. I only do what I want to do.
Unlike many of the others on this list, Daario was not born into a life of privilege. In fact, everything he knows about fighting he picked up on the streets. A down-and-dirty fighter with some serious skill with a blade, Daario has proven himself time and time again, whenever the going gets rough. He was at his best when he took down the champion of Meereen in a matter of seconds, killing the man's horse before cutting him in two. The thing that makes Daario an exceptional fighter, though, is his confidence. Daario never doubts his abilities, so when he's facing an opponent, the question isn't how he'll kill him, it's when. Number 6. Syrio Forel.
Who are you?
Your dancing master, Syrio Forel.
Why do the most interesting characters always have to die? In Season 1, audiences were introduced to Syrio Forel, a master fencer, the first sword of Braavos, and the man tasked with teaching Arya how to wield a sword.
All men are made of water. Do you know this? If you pierce them, the water leaks out.
While we only got to see him in action once, it was one of the most badass fight scenes in Game of Thrones history. The guy was able to fend off a squad of heavily armed soldiers with nothing but a wooden sword and some seriously impressive trash talk. If only he'd been better equipped. We all know he would have been able to fight off that loathsome brute Meryn Trant. But alas, it was not to be.
What do we say to the god of death?
Not today.
Go.
Number 5. Jon Snow.
Next!
Is there anything Jon Snow can't do? As a member of the Night's Watch, he successfully defended the wall from a wildling attack, killed a White Walker, and came back from the dead. He then took it upon himself to retake Winterfell and beat the crap out of Ramsay Bolton before being named King in the North. Of course, none of this would have been possible were Jon Snow not one of the most badass fighters Westeros has ever seen. It doesn't matter if he's fighting 1 man or 10. Jon Snow can dismantle, disembowel, and dismember anyone who gets in his way. But you'd never hear it from him. He is all class. Number 4. Jaime Lannister.
Never understood why some knights felt the need to carry 2 swords.
For years, Jaime Lannister was considered one of the greatest swordsmen in the Seven Kingdoms. His skill with the blade was the stuff of legend, so much so that he became a member of the Kingsguard at just 15 years of age. Unfortunately, he lost his sword hand during a run-in with some of Roose Bolton's men. Now that he's handicapped, Jaime is a shell of his former self. However, his willingness to learn how to fight with his opposite hand, and the fact that he's still a highly intelligent fighter, earns him a spot on our list. Number 3. Brienne of Tarth. The only female fighter to make the list, Brienne of Tarth is as fearsome as they come. A knight in every sense of the word, she's managed to best some of the greatest fighters in Westeros, including Loras Tyrell
I yield!
and the Hound. She also managed to defeat Jaime Lannister back when he still had both his hands. Her imposing size and strength make her a formidable opponent, one who's capable of cutting down most without batting an eye. And being a woman, Brienne has had to work twice as hard. As a result, she's one of the best swords in all of Westeros. Number 2. Barristan Selmy.
Even now I could cut through the 5 of you like carving a cake.
A member of the Kingsguard for 40 years, Barristan Selmy is typically considered one of the greatest swordsmen in the history of the Seven Kingdoms. A highly skilled fighter capable of cutting down multiple men at once, Selmy was both feared and respected by those who would oppose him. In fact, his reputation was such that even though he remained loyal to Rhaegar Targaryen during Robert's rebellion, the king pardoned him and named him Lord Commander of the Kingsguard. And even in his twilight years, Selmy is an almost unstoppable hero. Before we unveil our number 1 pick, here are some honorable mentions. Number 1. Sir Arthur Dayne.
And now it begins.
As far as legendary Game of Thrones fighters are concerned, Sir Arthur Dayne stands alone. In Season 6, audiences finally got to see just how lethal a swordsman he was, as he took on Ned Stark and his band, and, despite being vastly outnumbered, still almost won. Wielding 2 swords at the same time and cutting through his enemies with ease, Dayne was well on his way to killing Stark before being stabbed in the back at the last second by Howland Reed. But despite that crushing loss, Sir Arthur Dayne is still spoken of as one of the best swordsmen who ever lived.
Sir Arthur Dayne, the sword of the morning. Led the attack on the Kingswood Brotherhood, defeated the Smiling Knight in single combat.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from Watch Mojo and subscribe for new videos every day.